Jumping right in out of the blue, we're going to be upgrading my current gaming PC, which is a 7700K with a 3060 Ti, 32 gigs of G-Skill Trident RGB memory at 3200 megahertz. Here you can see that I'm taking off the CPU cooler, undoing the fan control wiring. Right now I will be taking the 9700K motherboard out of the PC case, and I'm putting it on the bench. Before this video, I had started the idea of maybe putting the 9700K in the PC chassis, but given the current setup and where I sit, I'm not sure it's going to fit on the table next to the couch, so I decided to keep it on the same platform that the 7700K was on. The reason why I am upgrading, even though Warzone seemed to play alright, in the research I did about the 3060 Ti, I wasn't getting all the frames I should be, which was well over 50 to 60 extra frames. So I was currently getting about 130 to about 112. I should be getting anywhere between 140 to like 180. So definitely opted for a better CPU. It is a 6-core compared to the 4-core 7700K. And that's really it. You know, I mean, the platform is pretty much the same. Other than that, it's gonna be the same PSU. I will be adding a different SSD. It is a 1 terabyte. I think it's the 2042 edition. You know, maybe I'll get back into that game. Not making any promises. But yeah, right now, you know, clearly cleaning the CPU. I'm just using some Arctic Freeze product. It's this 2-step, one removes compound or the thermal paste. The other one purifies it and gets off all the oils that may be left over. So it's supposed to be good. It's only like a $6 or $7 kit. I've had it for like 6 years, but you can see I'm going with just the dot method. It's pretty simple. You know, in my mind, I think it reduces any risk of getting any sort of air bubbles in between the cooler and the IHS. Here I'm just doing some quick maintenance. Obviously nothing really all that interesting, but I actually flipped the fan around by the end of the video. I realized, you know, I didn't like it on that side of the CPU cooler, but this is a really important part. I loosen all the screws on the motherboard because if you tighten them down when you're placing the video card in, sometimes the video card won't align right, and it'll be very difficult to put in that big beefy card. So it's very important to loosen the motherboard just a bit, you know, and don't forget to tighten everything down. I tightened it down after I had adjusted the board, and then I put the card in. Now, you know, there's really not much else to say here, you know, just your basic rudimentary power cables and whatnot. But, you know, I definitely have a lot of fun building computers, and, you know, I like all the technical aspects of it. Probably the hardest part of it, I think, is placing all of the front panel I/O connectors on the board, because it's really easy to flip them around and make sure that, you know, the board or the buttons don't break over time. You know, you got to make sure that you have them in the right orientation. But here you can see I'm switching out the memory that's on that motherboard. That's 3000 gigahertz, and I switched it for the 32. Uh-oh. String. Yep. And it posted. Get you off this. Get you over here. Okay. It registers a 9700K, 3.6 gigahertz, speed 36. It sees 32 gigs of DDR4 memory. That is not the right speed. It should be running at 3200 megahertz, so we're gonna go ahead and see if we can take care of that. I guess we can just go to XMP profile. Well, this is really, really sensitive. Okay. And now we will hit save. It should run. Shut off. Turn it back on. Looks like it posted. Sweet. And it's still keeping the XMP profile, which is good. All right, we're going to see if it sees the two SSDs real quick. We're gonna have to install Windows. I'm not familiar with this BIOS. Okay, there they are. Okay, so we have a SanDisk. Oh, I see. Yeah, no, that's not what we want. Western Digital Black, NVMe. And looks like it only sees one of them. Didn't I put two in there? Pretty sure I put two in there. Boot priority. It sees the 1 terabyte. It does not see the 500 gig. However, I wonder why. Oh, maybe it doesn't see it as a boot drive? Because technically it isn't set up for a boot drive. So let's go to boot menu. Okay, it does see both of them. Yeah. Okay. So we're good in that department. Let's go ahead and F10 and we'll power that off. Yeah. All right, let's dig into here, find my Windows boot device. It's this. Oh. Streaming PC's up, waiting for the gaming PC. Tough gaming. We want this to be the first boot drive. And now we will go to F10, hit OK. All right, we're getting ready to load up Windows. There it is. Let's go ahead and jump through this real quick. US. Okay, got past it, put in the right password. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a little brief update on the 9700K to complete the video, and how Warzone has been playing, and just all of its, performance and how the temperatures are running on that different thermal paste that I'm using. Just to give you a brief summary, we got a 9700K. We have 32 gigs of G.Skill memory at 3200 megahertz. Then my streaming setup, or my streaming PC, which is a 8260 AMD. It's not a Ryzen. 8320. No, it's definitely an 8320. AMD. What is that? A bulldozer CPU? I don't really know. But and then I've got my two monitors. They're both 1080p. This one's they're both 60 hertz. I hope to upgrade to a high refresh rate at some point, maybe 120 or 144 hertz. The top one is a 32-inch ViewSonic that I've had about a year. And then the Samsung one I've actually had for close to 9 or 10 years, but it's a high response time monitor. So it 2MS, and that's when they were pretty legit with their marketing, and you know that they actually produced pretty good quality stuff. This isn't a full 1080p monitor. This is called 1680 by 1050, so it's just a little bit under 1080, but the quality is still the same. So we're just gonna power it up. There's the 9700K. If I don't give it a second, my streaming PC won't pick up the signal and it'll have a distorted image of the capture. So I have to wait for this gaming computer to boot up. That's about long enough, and then I'll come over here and I'll power this one up. And it should be good. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about Warzone, considering that one is the only one that's dependent on, you know, good response times and high frame rates. All right, so just to give you a little idea, I'm running 132 frames of the startup screen, just here in the menu. I was getting about 115. Okay, just to give you a little bit of idea. You can also see that the utilization is about 60%, 65%. That's about as high as it ever goes. On the 7700K, it was well over 75 to 80%. That doesn't leave us a lot of headroom for, you know, extra stuff that happens. And this is just a menu, you know, like nothing's really going on right here. When you're engaging with other people, you know, like it gets more complicated, and the refresh rate between the server has to keep up with the enemies that are on your screen, and it's got to refresh to it. So I mean, all of this headroom is really, really, really good to have, because it minimizes any sort of latency that might be created, you know, because of the slower processor. So the 9700K has 2 more real cores, like hard, like actual cores in it, than the 7700K. The 7700K was only a 4-core, but it was very, very, very efficient. You know, it's honestly a very similar variant to the 67 and 6800K that came out a generation before it. So not a lot different there, but point is that we've got about 10 to 20% more availability. I'm about to jump into a game here, and you're gonna see how it kind of runs, and you know, you'll be able to, I guess, understand a little bit as to how smooth the game runs. The settings, I'll show you once we get in game, but let's see if we can do it now. But these are my settings. Obviously, that's not right. While I'm in the loading screen right here, I jump up to 500 to 700 frames a second, which is pretty normal, honestly. 220, but now it'll come down, but you can see that you know, while the game is moving, I'm pushing 160, 150 frames. With that, you know, that looks really, really good. We'll just move around just so that you get an idea. You know, it doesn't drop below 150. So, and in close quarters, it's 180 frames. So, I am definitely doing a whole lot better playing this game. I'd probably push 115, 120 to 130 frames. Now I'm 30 or 40 frames higher than that. So, there's definitely a lot more headroom. I probably have utilized probably even more than the 7700K, because the 7700K made the game quality a lot lower, and it ran a lot fewer frames. So, you know, I mean, like, this is definitely a huge increase. So that'll do it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Give me a little bit of what you thought down in the comments below, and look out for my next video. I'll see y'all later. Night.